Hello, good afternoon everybody. Thank you so much for coming along to the remote learning TeachMeet. I'm just going to double check. Can everybody hear me? Alex, can you give me a
Yes, I can hear and see you.
Okay, great, that's fine. Perfect. So just want to say a big thanks to everyone again just for coming along. We've got a kind of like a good mix of presenters from establishments across the city coming to share some kind of advice and some good practice and maybe some things to avoid when it comes to remote learning. So for anyone that's not been to a TeachMeet before, the normal setup, obviously, if we're in person, it's a great opportunity to also kind of like hear from other practitioners, but do a wee bit of networking and things as well. So the setup for the evening is we've got a mixture of mini presentations, which are 7 minutes long, and nano presentations, which are only 2 minutes long. And all the presenters have been kind of selected to go in a random order, randomizer, just before the session began, so they don't even know when they're going to be called upon. We do have a couple of ways for you to ask some questions during a presentation. So during when the presenter's presenting, if you want to ask them a question, you can type that into the chat function, and we're going to give you an opportunity, or we'll ask it on your behalf after the finished presenting, just if you've got anything that you would like to say. We are recording the TeachMeet session tonight, so once it's been recorded, we'll obviously edit out the beginning and things. We'll put it up on the Stay in Glasgow YouTube channel. So if you have a colleague that you think, oh, you should go and check that out later on, you can direct them to our YouTube channel and they can watch the TeachMeet on that. Have I missed anything, Alex?
No, I'm aware that some people are struggling with the chat function. I'm going to blame Teams and iPads, so just blame America. But so the other way around that is maybe save your comments to the very end, and the chat function should still work in your main bit, not the actual call, if that makes sense. And it will upload everything to the files and stuff if anything else that's needed be, and we'll highlight everything. We'll put a list of who presented what at the end.
Yeah, I have gone into the kind of behind the scenes and I've checked the options.
I think it's still the glitch from December.
Right, okay, that's fine. So we'll not spend too much time on that. But yeah, if you've got any questions, if you don't have access to the chat function, you can always pop it in at the end in the main page. So without further ado, I think we'll just introduce our first presenter, which is Gail Chalmers from Ibrox Primary. So Gail, are you presenting your own presentation, or would you like us to present your?
I've got it.
Okay, Alex, you're going to share on Gail's behalf. Perfect. So Gail, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi guys.
Perfect, great. I'll mute myself.
Yours.
Thank you.
Just tell me when you want to move on. That should be it coming now. Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Hi everybody. I'm not quite sure that I'm here for all the right reasons, but something I put on Twitter, the team messaged me and said it'd be really good to come and share what we've been doing for digital learning. So I think it's quite important that we look at the context that Ibrox is in. I'm principal teacher at Ibrox Primary School. I've been there since 2017, and part of my remit, I'm the DLOL as well. As a school, we've got very, very strong family relationships. We use our hashtag Team Ibrox. It's not just a hashtag, it's an absolute thing. Our families are part of the school, our pupils, our grannies, our grandpas. We're very much a family school. Our current roll is 205 pupils, and the majority of our children speak English as an additional language. At the moment, we've got 26 languages spoken across the school, which has dropped 2 from last session, but a huge diversity of different languages from all of our children. In the past, probably a couple of years, I've realised that digital poverty in our school is a real big issue. I've worked in a school 5 minutes down the road, I've worked in a school 5 minutes up the road, and Ibrox is totally unique in its context, partly cultural, I think, and partly kind of financial and poverty related, but our children don't have access at home. In October, when I did the digital inclusion survey, the majority of the children, so taking out the primary 7s who got their one-to-one devices, of the 170 children in the school, 113 had absolutely no way of getting online at home. Mum or dad potentially had a smartphone, but they didn't have their own tablet, they didn't have a laptop, they didn't have a desktop. So this put us in a situation where we were thinking, how are we going to move forward, with things like this. Another factor for us is the digital rollout, which we go on across Glasgow. We were one of the last schools to be deployed, so our primary 7s only received their iPads at the end of October, and our shared iPads only came in last week. So for our pupils, they've had no chance in school to get hands-on skills. We've not had any additional iPads that we brought into the school, so they've not had the experience of using iPads. and it's not something that they're familiar with in the house. Now, that's a massive generalisation. Obviously, have some families who do have digital devices at home, but for the majority, they don't. Okay. Moving forward, thinking about how we're going to support our online learning, we had to look at our context and kind of put that at the forefront of everything we were doing. We spoke to all of our stakeholders, and from school closure last time, they highlighted that the paper packs that we provided were really, really positive. They liked the fact that their children could get a break from the TV with what they said, and sit down with a paper task. They liked the fact that they were practicing their writing skills, as if in their kind of fine motor skills, and they were very positive about having paper packs. So we decided that we couldn't just jump on board the digital ship and throw the paper out the window. So since January, we've been providing paper packs every 2 weeks, along with trying to kind of push forward the digital online content. In October time, we decided that we were going to kind of go ahead and use Showbay as our platform, and we did some staff training on the inset day in October and kind of dipped our toe in the water, but without the devices in school. It was really just Primary 7 who kind of started to move forward with it. Our digital inclusion iPads came in, so of the 113 children who needed a device, I got 71 iPads, so it was a real stretch to try and fit these, across families, and we do have several families who have 3 siblings sharing a device. It's just the way it's worked. Couldn't stretch in any other way. So these went out kind of December into January, and then obviously in January, with school being closed, we had a real issue as to, you've just got this brand new device, how are we going to use it to get you learning? At the start of January, we kind of gently started to encourage all children to use Glow. We gave them their Glow username, we gave them their passwords, and we started joining TeachMeet or setting up Teams meetings for them to join. I kind of felt I went from being a teacher to a full-time IT consultant overnight. I had 24/7 parents on Twitter, on email, on basically any forum they had me on, saying the Wi-Fi's not working or the iPad's broken. I've still been in school 5 days a week, so I've had parents at the door of the school, this is broken or this is not working, and 9 times out of 10 it was a really, really quick fix. But thinking of our context and our families at home who aren't used to these digital devices, they needed that support to be able to get up and running with them. We produced learning at home guidance and support videos. I made one for accessing your emails, which sounds ridiculously simple, and one for using Teams, and they've gone onto our blog and our app, where our parents, do use quite widely because they can access it from their phones. P7 have been going with Showbay since January, and the rest of the school started in February. So from kind of all of the phone calls and informal support I was giving, I thought I need to do something that's a bit more suitable for our families. So last Friday, I held my first formal digital drop-in session. This was basically all day outside in the shed. It was the day the paper home learning packs go out as well. And over that session, I had 13 different devices come into the shed for me to look at. Some of them were, a super, super quick fix, and some of them were a bit more complex. Alex, can we move to the next slide? So the digital drop-in, I basically said, any issue at all with Glow, Teams or Showbay, pop along to see me, bring your device. It can be a school iPad or it can be a personal device, and we'll have a wee look at it. People were coming along, and for our families, quite often it's a language barrier. A phone call doesn't work. They can't have a conversation. They're not confident to pick up the phone, but they'll come and try and have a conversation with you face-to-face. So I had a lot of face-to-face conversations with people popping in for home learning packs, not necessarily bringing their devices, and just asking wee things which I could give them a bit of support with. As I said, I had the devices which actually came into the shed, and they were a variety of either a quick fix or we'll need to look into this in a bit more detail. What was really good was from the devices that came into the shed, 10 of the children appeared later on in a whole school Teams event that we had, so it was obviously a worthwhile thing, and parents were really positive about being able to come and have the conversation. I think all through this current school closure, it's been quite hard in my role as DLO looking at other schools and seeing where other people are with their digital, learning and the things that are going on. But I think what everybody needs to remember, and it's worthwhile remembering wherever you are, is you need to know your context. And for us at Ibrox, our context is that digital learning and digital devices are brand new for the majority of our families, and we can't plunge in at the deep end. So it is offering, the support that we need to. One of the big things that I use is the Microsoft Translator App. If you've not used it yet on the iPad, it's fantastic. It's brilliant for communicating with people who don't have a good level of English. And obviously, if you're seeing the person, obviously from a safe 2-metre distance, showing them what you're doing on the iPad, that breaks down language barriers. They can watch what you're doing. So yeah, it was really, really positive. Alex, can we have the next slide? Impact from kind of what we've been doing. All of our children now have digital access at home. We've got 5 families who are currently out of the country, so I've taken them out of the equation. But all of our children who are currently in school, well, on roll in school, have digital access. The majority of our children are able to access and respond to their Go emails. My head teacher Fiona is setting up weekly Teams meetings, and week on week there's a real increase. Primary 5 was today, so 3 weeks ago they had 1 child, and then it jumped up to 2, and then it jumped up to 3, and we had 12 today. So a kind of really positive increase in the number of people that can engage. We're using the weekly check-ins, and also we're having family events. So on Friday we had a whole school Valentine's celebration. We had 39 different children attend that, and that equated to kind of 61 children, because it was families who were on together. So 61 children across the school, which to us was a huge success. And 9 of the families kind of came onto the show being teams, which is fab. Next steps for me moving forward, I think that I need to really look at targeting my digital drop-in. All classes are now using Showbie. This week we went kind of online with everything, with the paper to support. And I'm asking staff to give me names of children who are not engaging, so I can make phone calls to target people to come in if they're looking for support. With the Showbie, we have got children engaging now, but it's looking at how we get increased submission of assignments. And obviously now we've just got the primary 4s to 7s, it'll be easier to target and look at who's submitting and who's not. And then from that, looking at the children we've got in school, and do we need to change who's coming in as a kind of support bubble to get online. So it's been a whirlwind, it's been a kind of crazy journey, but we've made massive progress on where we were.
Gail, thank you so much for sharing. I always give you a slight drop there by kicking you off. I think I let you go slightly over, but that's
Sorry,
like
just too much to say.
There's too much to say. You don't realise how quickly 2 and 7 minutes go until you actually start. So thank you so much for kicking us off. I think the digital drop-ins sound great, so I'm sure loads of other people will maybe want to steal aspects of that for families that are maybe struggling a bit. Next up, we've got Paul Downey, who is going to actually do a wee double bill presentation for us. He's got a 7-minute and a 2-minute for us, both on different subjects, but for some fantastic resources that I think everybody in the call will be able to gain access to, but also how to access them, and really, really useful for remote learning. So Paul, I'll just invite you on just now. Are you sharing your own presentation? Yes?
Yeah, if that's possible.
Hold on.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find them in the list.
That's okay.
Can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah. Where are you there, Mr. Dynamic Presenter? There you go. Actually, you've got rights to share now.
There we go. Does that work okay?
Yep, perfect.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Paul. My permanent role is Faculty Head of Science at Hindland Secondary in Glasgow, and I'm currently on secondment with the West Partnership as West to West Coordinator. So kind of 2 hats. First 7 minutes we're going to put to West to West and a wee bit of an overview about what it is, how you can access it, and more importantly share some of the content that we've got on there with learners. West to West was set up with the belief that all children and young people should be able to access high quality learning experiences regardless of circumstances. Now, that doesn't just mean during lockdowns like we find ourselves in this now, but at all times. So we're really starting to consider the legacy benefits of West to West as a great study tool when face-to-face teaching resumes, as well as the support it offers currently. Each West to West video provides input from an experienced teaching practitioner, and they're designed to support learners to develop skills, knowledge, understanding relating to key learning points. That they can be used as a standalone learning activity or be prescribed by a teacher as part of a kind of wider learning experience. And I'll show you how you can share some of these individual videos shortly. It is part of the national e-learning offer, and it's been made available to all local authorities across Scotland. As of today, currently 29 out of 32 local authorities have access, and obviously within Glasgow we can access that already. It forms the recorded part of the national offer. The live part comes through eSchoil, and Education Scotland have a number of searchable spreadsheets which provide the supported element. WestOS is the recorded element of that offer. It's probably also worth mentioning that not only can WestOS be accessed by teachers and young people across Scotland, but colleagues across Scotland are now actively involved in the development of WestOS, and there's colleagues from every rick in the country now contributing, and I expect there'll be hopefully some people listening to this presentation who are actively involved in that process, and it's a far richer and more vibrant resource for that input. So hopefully that gives you a wee bit of background on WestOS. Within Glasgow, our teachers and learners access WestOS via the WestOS powered by ClickView app, which you'll find in the Glow app library. Now that can be accessed using the tab at the top of your Launchpad, and if you click on the WestOS app, you'll be able to add it to your own personal Launchpad for ease of access. It's worth actually mentioning that you can keep that Launchpad up to date and take things in and out depending on what your needs are at any point. Once you've added it to your Launchpad, you're pretty much good to go. And we would encourage all teachers and all young people to add that tile to their personal Launchpad. Children and young people can access WestOS independently to support their own learning across the curriculum. So again, it would be great to see everybody encouraging them to add that themselves. I said the tile's called WestOS powered by ClickView. The reason for that is simply that ClickView are currently the streaming partner of Education Scotland. And to further support everyone during the lockdown, ClickView have kindly provided free temporary access to their full platform until the 31st of March. But I must highlight that access is only temporary to that content. And after the 31st of March, you will continue to have access to the growing library of WestOS videos, but the additional ClickView access will cease at that point. Once you're within WestOS, you will have the option of selecting BGE or senior phase, and from there you can choose a curricular area. There's also an option there to select what is WestOS, and currently that includes information on the platform and a feedback form should you have any comments you'd like to share. However, we will shortly also be hoping to add in there some colleagues sharing practice on how they're using WestOS themselves, which might be useful. So to give you a very, very quick tour, if we select senior phase, then maths, there's currently content available for higher, Nat 5, Nat 4. And if we select higher, we can then select different areas of the course. So in this case, wave function. We then have a range of videos available covering that area of the course, and we can select the video that we want. So in this case, solving equations using the wave function, and the video appears. For learners, they can watch that video before deciding if they wish to watch further content. But for teachers, we would obviously want to be able to share specific videos. Now we can do that by selecting the share button below the video, where there'll be a URL link which you can then paste into your virtual learning environment. So whether that's Teams or Showbay, as we've just heard, that has been used in Ibrox Primary. You can email that link out, you can pop it in a PowerPoint, you can add it to a lesson document, whatever you like, you can send that out, and students just follow that link and it will play the video. It's worth noting though that they really should be logged into Glow on their browser, and if we're using the iPad and young people are maybe accessing that link from within an app such as Teams or Showbay, you would generally want to maybe encourage them to ensure they're logged on to Glow in the browser, just to make it a wee bit more seamless in accessing the content. You can also get an embed code, which is great to embed into things like Glow blogs if you use those. And you just click the embed tab, copy the embed code, and there's also a wee option there to share directly to Google Classroom if that's something that anyone does. So hopefully that gives you a very quick overview of the logistics of finding and sharing videos. WestOS is evolving, it's something we're very, very open about, and content's being continually uploaded onto the platform. You'll see on the screen that there's already material covering a wide range of the curriculum, and we're working hard to increase that all the time, and videos are being uploaded every day. It's probably worth highlighting that we're actively working on enhancing things at second and third level, and I'll mention that a little bit more of that in a second, but primarily in the coming weeks we'll be adding content in numeracy, literacy, science, modern studies, geography, drama and some topical stuff at those levels, which obviously given today's announcement might prove useful. And finally, I'll just finish up this part really by highlighting a couple of things. Recorded content from eSchoil has also been made available via WestOS, so you can find it all in one place, and that will also continue to be uploaded as well. We are imminently today, tomorrow, about to announce that we'll be coming together with eSchoil to work on second and third level resources and increasing the resources that are available on WestOS and on eSchoil from March with a theme of sustainability, and that's something which Alex and Hannah have also had some great input into, which we're grateful for. So that's something to keep an eye out for. You can find more information about that in the coming days and weeks on the WestOS Twitter. So if you don't follow it already, you'll find it at the Twitter address there on the screen. And if you do have questions that you maybe don't want to ask today, or if there's anything we can do, or there's any problems, then my own email's on the screen, and you can feel free to reach out and get in touch. So that's really much a kind of brief overview of the WestOS. I think we just about kept it to 7 minutes. So very quickly, with a slightly different hat on this time, just to very quickly share another piece of work, the Higher Biology podcast, which is something that I created in the midst of the first lockdown in a response to a bit of a personal frustration around remote teaching at that time. I like to tell stories at times in my own lessons, and lockdown meant that became pretty different. But from a period of what was, I guess, a time of isolation, the podcast provided the opportunity not only to tell stories, but to have subject experts from around the world share their stories and bring the Higher Biology course to life, and while sharing maybe their own journeys and giving a bit of an insight into the world of work as well as living things. The podcast is now supported by Lecky Scotland, Education Scotland, as well as Young Scot, which allows young people to claim, I think it's 100 Young Scot reward points for every episode they listen to. And the podcast wouldn't exist without, or have the same value without a kind of growing group of frankly extraordinary experts, who some are based in Scotland, some are scattered around the globe. Not all a picture, I guess, but they've included Scotland's Chief Veterinary Officer, Sheila Volas, Scotland's first black professor, Sir Jeff Palmer, and possibly more topically, Jason Leach has been on a couple of times giving updates on coronavirus and its impact on school, as well as sharing his own journey from Hendry Academy to becoming National Clinical Director. So the podcast covers a range of curricular key areas across the Higher Biology course, as well as a number of topical science stories. It's to allow young people basically to access it freely and easily. It's been made available on all major podcast platforms. You can just Google the Higher Biology podcast and it'll appear at the top of the list as well now. And as you can see, it's kind of Apple Podcasts and Spotify tends to be the kind of main ones. And as a pupil pointed out back in August or September, if you type Mr. Downey into the same space, you search for Beyonce, it seems to appear. Interestingly, it's listened to a lot on mobile phones. That seems to be the kind of main thing. So combining some of the analytics with the anecdotal feedback, a lot of people seem to be listening to it when they're out for a walk or walking to places and on the move, which is maybe a time where learning didn't traditionally take place. But the podcast has now been downloaded thousands of times since lockdown, and it's far surpassed the expectations. So it's really interesting to hear how people are using it. Again, you can share individual episodes. You just simply, again, copy and paste the URL link for particular episodes, and you can drop that in and share it with your class. And given the 1 minute one, it's probably just best summed up with again something which one of my own pupils had said at the time. It was simply, "Sir, it's far more interesting than just listening to you talk." So I think he was probably absolutely right.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul, for sharing both those fantastic resources. I think West in particular, you might have seen on Twitter, they've been giving updates about how many videos. I think they've well surpassed now 1,000 videos of content, which is fantastic, and obviously the Higher Biology podcast. I think we all dream of having people in school, celebrities and so on, come in and kind of speak to pupils and kind of garner that excitement and things, and Paul's managed to get loads on since he started the podcast last year. So thank you, Paul, for sharing all that content. I've put the link to the podcast in the chat, and also said reminder that you can add West to your Launchpad. Any questions, again, just add them into the chat and we'll ask the presenters. Our next presenter up for a 2-minute presentation is Ray Viola from Rollout Primary. Ray, you've got a video. Perfect. You're all ready to go. Is it Alex for shooting it on behalf?
Yeah, I'm cheering. Ray, just let me know when you want to start and I'll press play.
Awesome. We'll click play, go for it. So these are some ways that I made Seesaw work for me. I don't profess to have a crystal ball or do anything special. These are just wee personal victories that worked quite well for me. I made use of the drawing tool, which seemed to be quite motivating for the pupils in terms of interaction, as well as the screen recording so that I could give demonstrations to the pupils as well. I made use of some of the settings, which I'll go into later, about how to get more out of the app, as well as the audio feedback option to be able to actually talk to the pupils. My aim was to create something that basically would be quite engaging and rich for the children to use, but also something that I could reuse so that I could essentially save myself time. So I went with the Show Me 4 Ways template, which, if you're not familiar, basically means you give a calculation to the kids, you ask them to demonstrate it in 4 different ways. So for multiplication here, it could be like doing an array or the inverse calculations. I made sure that with my screen recording, not only did I give like a sort of demonstration of the task, but also I was recording my voice so that I was thinking out loud so that the children could hear me problem solving. This also worked for home learning so that I could actually print off the activity and maybe create a PDF essentially of the instructions for the task, which meant I didn't have to start from scratch. Obviously, I'll delete the page that has the video link, but the rest of it then gives me a template and the children can then physically write on if they don't have the digital access. Just a wee heads up, if you print it from the journal, you also get a wee QR code, which means that we can upload it to their journal. This was great to adapt because I could use it for different types of calculation. There would be addition, multiplying, whatever, and also for different ages and stages. So it was a big win for me being able to adapt that. This was one pupil who asked to show me number 9 4 ways, and she towelled up a set of tubs of slime, and she nailed it, obviously. So I gave her some audio feedback, and then her response to that was to nail that task as well. So it meant it was about 2 and 4 that I could really move that forward. And that was some ways to make Seesaw maybe work for you too. That's me.
No, that's
you're after Hannah's heart there in terms of that is what she loves a video to talk to.
I do. I have to say, I was like, I'm really impressed. I really like that. But I think that's fab because that's a snapshot of like how easy something can be, but how impactful it could be as well. So, and obviously everybody I know is kind of using Seesaw and Showbie and so on. So I'm sure there are loads of people in here that are familiar with some of the tools that are accessible, but maybe didn't know all that information. So that's fantastic. Thanks so much. And we've already got a comment from Jennifer and the staff, sharing those to our staff on SharePoint. That's from Paul. Fab. So next up we have Richard Mckean, who is from Kings Park Primary. Richard, I know we saw you were on the call earlier on.
Yep, hi. How you doing?
Perfect.
I've given you presenting rights, Richard, if you want to share a screen or if you just want to talk, it's up to you.
No worries. I'll just share my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Can you see that okay? Plus all the other rubbish that sits there during the day?
Yep, I see that fine.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so hi, thanks very much. Hard acts to follow. There are 3 really impressive presenters so far. So hopefully, like me, sitting getting something out of everyone else who spoke so far, this will be of use to you. Usually, you would find me at Kings Park Primary School. That's where I work. That's where I'm the deputy 3 days a week. But I also am the manager for Glasgow RTC, which is our Apple Regional Training Centre for Glasgow, which provides all our professional learning for Apple. So please check. That's a kind of plug today for the Apple RTC to have a look at what's coming up, as well as what everybody else sees. But I'm not going to talk about the Apple RTC today because I really want to talk about a resource that we've used in our school that's supported lots and lots of our learners. And listening to my colleague there who spoke about digital inequalities of what's happening. Everyone here on the call has probably been involved with a digital inclusion iPad, their shared iPads, a legacy iPad, their primary 7 iPads, their S1, S6 iPads. That was really difficult, and also there's kind of different parts to that. So we looked for a resource to use that we knew all our learners could access. And we began to use something called ThingLink, and I'll put ThingLink up at the moment. ThingLink is an award-winning education technology platform, and it really makes easy use of videos and images to create kind of virtual tours or just flat images that have texts, links, voiceovers, anything that you can link from the internet to one source. ThingLink does. It's not something different that's already out there. It might be like a Wakelet, it could be a Keynote with embedded links or a SharePoint or absolutely anything. It just brings things in quite nicely and aesthetically. ThingLink would be my desert island app, probably along with Book Creator if I was stuck somewhere and I was thinking, right, how do I get myself out of a hole? And because you can share it with learners and they can access it, and because you can also collaborate it with your learners, collaborate with your colleagues, we found it really useful, and we used it for the first lockdown, and we're now using it for this lockdown as well, so we know it kind of works. So how does it work? Up here, you sign up using your own Glow credentials. There's a free option, there's also a paid option. I pay for the paid option, get it through the school and get refunded because you reach your limits, but the free version is actually really good. You can explore what other people have done, and as I said here, you can link to anything. So here's somebody who's created something for a polar bear, here's a water cycle, absolutely anything. There's a Christmas tree, there's Greta Thunberg. So you use images. It also has a bank of 3D images, so you can begin to use it for other things as well. But to actually create a thing like that's the one thing that we really liked about it within our school, is the simplicity of it. As you say, you just add a video or an image. So here's an image that I've got already from a site called Unsplash, because I really like the quality of them, and they're also free to use as long as you give them a bit of credit. And then what it does is it uploads your image to it, and as you can see, like everything when you go to do it on technology, it's not working. So I'll just go into one that I've already prepared. Maybe there we go. It's going now, and it might go really slow because of the internet and because of being on a call. So I won't do that. I'll just go back here and go here. Basically what it does is it adds in an image, and the image you can then go in, and I'll get this one here because it's kind of blank one. You upload your image and then you can begin to add links to it, and how you do that is by using this little pencil and by using little add tags, and as you can see here they're kind of blipping away. To add a tag, you just hit add tag and you get different options. You get a really basic label, which allows you to give a icon and a text, but then you get this more kind of better version, which allows you to choose a title. So you can put in a title, excuse my spelling, you can add a description here, you can add a web link, www.bbc.co.uk, click here, and you get all that. You can also add in an image and an actual video that sits within there. And then you hit done. If you don't want to hit done, you can also change the image. So you can have like A, B, C, D, E, which is good for learners to follow. You can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can have different images for different reasons if you want to draw attention to it. Then you hit done, and then it's done. The nice thing about it as well is that it has the immersive reader option on it. So if you click on a tag, for those learners, particularly EAL, particularly families who can't follow the words, or for children who struggle with text, then you have the immersive reader. And that's how you do it. You add as many tags as you want, as often as you want, to what you want, and then what you end up with is really cool projects. And here's one that we're doing at the moment here, which is the Olympics. So we've added all our tags, and all our tags are really straightforward. Here is a little introduction video. Here is a creative task where we want them to do, and we've built these. We now have an embedded YouTube video, which will have a film every time. We have maps and fast facts, which takes them to a Google map somewhere in the world that we're going to. And then we have this going for gold button, which is 3 tasks each day, bronze, silver and gold. And the idea is that the children do that task and then they post their work onto Google Classroom. And because we've used a particular button, which is the tour creator, we now can build a tour. And that's the collaborative part with my colleague, where we can link to the next day. So I created this one. Then my colleague Vicky creates this one. She shares it with me and I add it to the original tour. She's got the same tags. So again, our pupils, it's really, really easy for our learners to follow, supporting them for the remote learning, but also supporting families. There's not a lot of text to read. There's not a lot of text to get involved in. They don't have to follow a lot of instructions. They have to watch a little video, which I won't play, and then they've just got the same format each day where they know which we've already explained to them. They've got another video to watch, they've got their link, and that goes on for the days. And we're using Tokyo 2020, and we're going back in each 4 years of the chronological order of the Olympics. So we're back to Brazil, we're back to London, we're back to Beijing, and then tomorrow, because we do it on a Wednesday and Thursday with our learners, to kind of fill that gap in the afternoon, because we appreciate that families don't always want work, so pupils don't always want to engage in it. And then we're back to Athens for day 5 tomorrow. And because we've built the tour, as I said, it's really, really easy to share and collaborate. If I go back there, sorry. Come out of there. And I appreciate it's a really quick run through, but you can see there how quickly that can be built, because I built one in about 30 seconds. You can use the 3 little dots, and that's how you publish it. You publish it by sharing it, and I can share the link in the chat, which I'll do after this for the one that we've created. And also you can clone the task, which means you clone it. If you send it to somebody, they can then clone it, and that's how you get to collaborate. It doesn't have an automatic collaborative button, but that's how you do it. Other ways we've used it is we've used it for kind of stats and maths and football. That's how we've used it.
1 minute warning there, Richard.
That's cool. Just a 1 minute warning?
Just a 1 minute warning.
Cool.
I'm being trained.
That's fine, that's fine. We've used it for football and stats and facts and money and time and all that kind of thing. We've also contacted people who made the images, because that's really important for kind of copyright. And here we've got a really, really nice one, which is all about 10 different animals you would find in Scotland. And because, as I said, you can make any link and embed any link from any external website, we can now link to MS Forms, which is part of your Glow catalogue, where we can now have embedded assessments. So we've got that nice triangulation. We've got teaching going on, we've got learning going on, and also we can bring pupils to a really, really easy form to fill in, so we can get some sort of feedback about where they are and what they're doing with their learning. And I think that is me.
Perfect. Well, I've got a quick question, Richard. It's come from Hannah McNaught in the chat here. She just asked, there I am. Do learners need to create a login for ThinkLink?
Nope, you can share the link with them the same way you would with anything. So that's another beauty of it. We don't ask them to do anything more. We share it through Google Classroom. You could share it through Showbie, Seesaw, Teams, whatever it is you're using for that. They just get straight access to the image. All the links are sitting there. The links then take them to where it needs to take them to.
Perfect. So no login. I think somebody describing an app as your desert island app, I think, is a testament to how good it must be. So I'm sure we're all quite attached to certain apps, so I think that's a real testament from yourself. But thank you so much for sharing that. If you've got the link of it, Richard, you can pop it in the chat so everybody else can get access to it. Our next presenter up is Downey Bolton from Blair Vaddock, who is going to share a wee bit about the Blair Vaddock remote learning resources. So, Downey, you there?
Hello, yeah, I'm here. I've possibly been a little ambitious in squeezing everything into 2 minutes, but I'll do what I can and give you a whistle-stop tour. If we can go back to the first slide, if possible, that is one of the last ones. Please, thank you. There you go, that's all right. So we've got 4 main resources, all of which have been created during some form of lockdown. They're all there really to be accessed either at home or at school, so they're designed to be able to be used once things go back to some sort of normality as well. And it's worth noting this presentation is full of all the links to all the different resources that you'll need, and this will get hopefully added into the files section of this chat. If you could move on to the next one, please. The first resource we created was the homework book, and this was designed really to replicate what people would do on a Blair Vaddock residential week, but obviously not being able to attend. So it's full of challenges, different reflection tasks, and it basically creates a document for people to keep, to share, or to use at their leisure. And it's still as applicable now as it was when we first launched it back in April 2020. It also has supporting videos, as do all the resources that we have. If you could have the next one, please. The 30-day challenge is a collection of 30 activity cards which are created over a wide range of subjects, and these are all available to download either as a pack or individually. Every single one comes with a supporting video, and they also come with the teacher section giving learning objectives and outcomes, as well as setup tips, hints, and equipment requirements. So they're available on our website to download and use. Again, they work quite well as home learning, but they will also work quite well on the alternative please. Blair Attic Bites is our current project. This was a sort of step back from interaction in a way. We're aware that everyone's working hard, busy, there's a lot going on. So this is more of an information delivery system. It's the little extra bits of information you would get on a daily activity with the Blair Attic instructor, all the little facts, fun information things, history, geography, all put into an easy-to-read card, and again, with a full supporting video. Everything that we've done has been launched kind of through our social media. So again, the links will take you to our website, but you will be able to find everything on our YouTube channel as well.
Oh, Danny, that's a 15-second warning. So
that's fine. Move on to the next one. These two are the schools maps. So again, downloadable for all the schools. Every school in Glasgow as of today has been mapped for use at home, but also when we return. And then the last slide, please. Our biggest restriction has been we've been promoting on social media, and the young people shouldn't be using it. Our main target audience, so it relies on you guys. Have a look, please check out the links, follow, like and share, and you'll find loads more. And by all means, get in touch and ask any questions. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Danny, for sharing that. Again, Blair Attic has been putting out outdoor learning resources, remote learning resources, since the beginning of the first lockdown. So it's really worth to go on and check it out, especially because after today's announcement, that some of the classes will be going back. So I really encourage you, as Danny said, you can access it on all the different platforms, but we'll put some links in the chat as well for you to have a look there. So thanks so much.
And I've made a folder within the team that I'll upload any PowerPoints that I've got afterwards as well, so you can click on all the links and stuff too. So I've made them a PDF.
Great, thanks Alex. So next up we've got Stephen Hendry from the Royal Society of Chemistry. Stephen, you're doing a 7-minute presentation. You were here earlier, so...
Yep, that's me. Yep, just here. Just going to share. Sorry, I'm just getting my screen to share. It's... Sorry, it's looking like I'm going to have to upload from my computer here just because I'm on a different account, I think.
See if you send it quickly to me by email, I'll be able to share it.
Right, no problem. I'll do that just now.
Right, we'll come back to that's what we'll do. We'll come back to you. Hannah, do you want to move on to the next person? And Stephen, can you email that to me?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just get to the next person in the queue. The next presenter up is Laura De Pasquale, hopefully I said that right, from Carmel Primary. Laura very kindly actually signed up just last night, so but she's been tweeting loads about all the great work she's been doing. So Laura, are you there?
Yeah, I am here, yeah.
Perfect, great. I'll just give you presenter rights. Do you have a presentation to share?
I do, yeah.
Okay, just give me a second and I'll find you in the call.
Yeah.
There you are. Okay. That's you got presenting rights. Are you sure just now?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll just let you share your presentation.
Okay, can you see it?
Yes, can see it. That's
okay.
Perfect.
Right, so my presentation is thinking about can children do collaborating remotely, and is this something that is possible? Yes, and I want to talk about 2 ways it can be done, through Padlet and Flipgrid. So Padlet is an app, or you can use it in a URL browser. There's no login required for it. It's free to use. You can make 3 Padlets with it. There's a range of templates, as you can see here, 8 different choices. It's really professional looking. Children can style it as they wish. You can add text, images, videos, links, etc. Real-time changes are recorded, and multiple users can log into the same presentation and change it at the one time. You can download it as images and PDFs to be shared with the rest of the class, and it's really easily shared. Some ways you might be able to use it: a collaborative report on the moon landing, a timeline of climate change, maps of deserts and rainforests, or a class discussion of learning during a topic. And the second one is Flipgrid. So children log in with a username created by the teacher. It's free and really easy to use. The children record and annotate a short video. You can enable text and video comments in each other's work. There's an immersive reader for instructions, which helps accessibility. And some ways you might use it: a report on differences between plant and animal cells, annotate steps required in a scientific report, explain how you built a toy sailboat, book reviews, exit tickets, and I have also uploaded a couple of documents into the file with information on a bunch of other apps and websites that you can use for online collaboration and different ways of being able to assess learning remotely. That's me.
I have to say, Laura, I think you absolutely get the prize for the swiftest, but also like the most concise, but loads of information. Your 2 minutes, that was fab. Thanks so much. And you've already got actually a nice comment from our next presenter. Unless Stephen sent things through.
No, I'm sorted. I'm good. I'm just opening it.
To say Padlet is fab. So I know there's been some schools that have been using it across the council and some teachers, but I think they're just actually having somebody come on and say it's really useful is helpful because it kind of gives it a bit of backing. So we'll go back one presenter. We've now got Stephen Hendry from the Royal Society of Chemistry. Alex, you're going to share his presentation, so I'll just let you do that just now.
That should be it coming up now. Can you see?
Yes, I can see it.
Yep, great. Stephen, just let me know when you want me to move on.
Yep, no problem, perfect. Just move on. So obviously, Stephen Hendry, Royal Society of Chemistry, just move on. I've got a lot of wee things, so just keep going. Yeah, so it started, I'm going to talk about best tips, so best practice for remote teaching. We started remote teaching very early on, so we've had over 1,000 teachers. Again, the numbers sort of speak for themselves, and then we continued that on into the second lockdown. A lot of what we found can be applied to the classroom teaching. So although we're talking about the hazards, the limitations to it, it still applies for classroom teaching. So could you move on, please? Thank you. So what we're going to talk about is what's happened, and then sharing the good practice and personal insights. Move on. Move on. Yeah. Fantastic, thank you. So we found very early on that people don't like using their webcams or talking on the mic. A lot of attendees were using a range of devices, I think, as we spoke about earlier on. Not necessarily like in pre-recorded lessons, because there was no option to ask questions or have explanations rephrased or explained differently. We found some of the feedback from there. Again, there was a demand for sessions to be recorded so that our attendees could look at these afterwards, and again I think the same as came out for pupils teaching the classroom, and again attendees usually learn from a combination, so this online is kind of lost because they tend to speak with one another in the room, they have these informal conversations, and this is something that we found had been lost. Just move on, please. And just keep moving on until, yeah, fantastic. So again, we can't see facial expressions, which is the sort of biggest hazard that we've had. So it's quite hard to communicate. A lot of the time we're speaking to a blank screen. It can be very sort of nerve-wracking. Can you hear me? Am I keeping the right pace? We found that taking out a lot of the information, so breaking it down into bullet points and checklists of what they need to do. Again, it's hard to see where they have gone wrong when working online. So if we ever set out a task, we have to give them enough time to feedback on it. Again, maybe give an advance warning of what the session is going to look like, what they have to achieve by the end of it, and how you're going to achieve that. Move on, please. Yeah, so again, I'm sure this is something, resonates with you. Best sessions that we see are ones where we have the opportunity to interact and discuss. So that's probably one of the most important things that comes from delivering online sessions. Sessions need to be shorter, so we can't talk for an hour. Instead, we've looked at having a break, so given the attendees something to do, something new to do every 10 minutes. And sometimes you have to sit in silence, so sometimes you ask a question or ask for feedback, you have to just sit there. A technique that we use is we count to 30 seconds in our head, and that gives people enough time to speak out normally. Again, it is very hard. We're not getting a change of scenery, we're sat at the computer, so it's important to integrate some breaks and exercises within the lessons. And again, just something that we spoke about earlier on was about the pace and making sure that we're not going too fast. Skip, please. What are the strengths, what we found? So again, the weakness is harder to establish the relationships, to share the ideas. Increased screen time has had a massive impact. The science is such a practical subject that it's hard to do online, and the distraction of other things that are happening. On the plus part, it's become more accessible. Can you move on, please? Sorry, can you move on?
Can you see?
Oh, sorry. So again, it's more accessible, and that also means that rather than just having myself and Laura, who are based in Scotland, you have the whole team. So it's a really great opportunity for sharing expertise amongst teams. I was at Orkney on one day, and then I was in Dumfries in the evening session. So it allows you to travel further, allows you to access schools, teachers that you would normally. And again, that's getting in these guest speakers is something that's so important. Skip, just skip on a wee bit quicker. Thank you. Thank you. So again, just as we spoke about the 10 minutes, keeping it, setting out the rules of engagement, how are you going to do it? We found asking targeted questions rather than do you have any questions, what questions do you have? Start strong as well, opportunity for reflection, introduce yourself, how are things going? I know you already know your pupils, but it's also good just to check in with them and see how things are getting on. Skip on. And just keep going. Stories, contextualising. These were the feedback that we were getting back. Where possible, use the functions that we have available. Just skip through. So we use live voting. This was software that we found to be really good to combat the not being able to have that informal discussion. Obviously interactive, instant, but again, the accessibility, the technology is relying. Skip again. We've also used graffiti and comment walls, which proved to be really popular as well, an opportunity for teachers or, again, your pupils to go back, and then you can structure your sessions in a way like that. Skip forward. I think I'm coming to the end of my 7 minutes. And then just skip through that. Thank you. Just skip on, sorry. And so finally, the take-home message, this is a new experience. We have to allow, the attendees allow our pupils to work at their own pace. And again, not everyone learns at the same pace. And this is especially true for remotely. Can you skip on? And again, skip on again. Thank you. So this is a veracity index, just looking at trustworthiness. Obviously, teachers, scientists are high up, and especially with the year of science that we've had, it's so important to be able to deliver the positive message. And just fast forward again to the next 2 slides, and that's that. So again, teachers are not working from home. We're working at home during a pandemic, and that's a very important distinction to make. And the next slide, please. And again, just looking at the teacher well-being, making sure that you take care of yourself, especially with the screen time, and maintaining good mental health throughout the session. And there'll be some links there to the resources. Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
No, that's great, Stephen. Thanks. I actually really liked it. Normally, Alex bosses people around. So I quite enjoyed actually listening to you boss her around with Move Forward. We've got actually a session. You mentioned a couple of things there, Stephen, like in the presentation about like Padlet and Mentimeter and some great resources online, which I know some teachers have been using, but some teachers might know loads about. There is actually a session that Stephen's going to run. You can sign up to it in CPD Manager, kind of on remote learning and hints and tips and things that you can use.
You've just muted yourself, Hannah.
Sorry, I put the link to CPD Manager in the chat there, so you can sign up in CPD Manager for that session if you want a wee bit more information on that. And also, Stephen, I'm going to ask, just while the next presenter's presenting, if you can also put into the chat a link to the education section of the website, because there's some great resources on there that can support remote learning. So if you could pop that into the chat as well, that'd be great. Our next presenter up is Louise Whittock. Sorry, Louise.
You got it right.
Yeah, great, perfect. I panicked at the last minute, that's why I paused. And you are from Nextwood Secondary, and again, actually, this was something that we saw on Twitter, and I thought, that's great. And actually, I had to do a wee bit of convincing. I think Louise thought, I'm not too sure, but actually, things that work well are things that we wanted to share on this platform. So, Louise, I'm going to give you presenter rights just now. If you've got,
I've already done it.
I'm just going to share my screen if I can, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Over to you.
Hang on, give us a second. Oh, it's not letting me share my screen.
Okay. Hold on. Just have a wee look.
Nope, you're definitely a presenter.
My wee arrow that comes up to share is not there.
You're not the first person that said that today. Someone else messaged me about that earlier.
Okay, what to do is, Louise, I'll put an email for you to send it to in the chat.
Well, I was actually just going to share my screen and talk through how I use things.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't know if I can do that here, if it's not working.
And I'll make you an attendee, and I'll make you...
Oh, wait a minute, I found a wee bit.
Okay.
It's just gone into a different section for... That's me. I've got it now. Sorry, I'm taking up my 7 minutes here. I'm just stalling.
That's fine.
I've not started the timer. You're okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So can everyone see my screen there? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So just before I start, just to let you know, I am in no way digitally proficient at all. I'm a history teacher, and I'm not very good with computers at all. But obviously, needs must in this time. At Knightswood Secondary, when we came back in August, we had our digital rollout. So every pupil has an iPad now, and what we are doing in the school, our timetable is being taught as if we were in class. So we're all live lessons. So one of the things that I've been using is the forms on to do quizzes with the kids, basically. And I found it a wee bit tricky at first because I was doing it through assignments on Teams, and that was making it a wee bit difficult for me until our school runs like a digital drop-in with kind of experts on a Thursday lunchtime. So if you can see my screen there, all I go in now to do is to go into forms here. And hopefully that should come up. Just loading, taking a minute. And you can see here some that I've got set up. So I'll show you one that I'm going to use tomorrow and one that I've used already. So I'm history, so probably this isn't going to interest many people. But for example, this one was used with my 4th year class. So my 4th year class have finished their course, but we're trying to revise and make sure they're ready. And it's the same for any National 5. The amount of content they need to know is quite astronomical. So one of the ways that I've been using the forums is to do kind of a mixture of questions to try and get them all engaged, because I think sometimes we've got mixed ability classes and some can just switch off. So I used a kind of range of visual questions, multiple choice, and actual just questions that they have to respond to. So that describe question is quite similar to a described question they would get in the exam. So it was mixing it up. So, short 10 questions on the content, and then one question at the end to get some feedback about how well they knew that section of the unit. Now, the best thing about this is that you can check the responses really quickly, so it gives you an overview. So I got 21 responses from that class. It gives you like the average time it took them to complete it, but then it breaks it down really quickly. So, for example, they all could tell me it was EBERT, which was quite good. Most of them could give me 4 relevant and accurate things about the Treaty of Versailles, but this one was interesting because none of them really got that question there about the New Republic, why it was Weimar, and really that was something that I could then go over in the next lesson. So the point of this quiz basically was to see where they were before they were doing a 9-mark question. So instead of giving them the 9-mark question without having a reference to where they were, we did this quiz, and then I said, well, they're not going to succeed at that 9-mark question if we've got a couple of inaccuracies there. So it's good for that. We get a kind of quick overview of where your kids are at, basically. So tomorrow I've got a 2nd year class, and they're doing the Civil Rights Movement. So this is the little quiz that I've set up for them. And again, you can add your own wee pictures. You can ask lots of questions, and again, I'm trying to keep it low stakes so everybody gets involved. So there's, Muhammad Ali in there's Jim Crow and so on, and then a kind of more question for them to try and think of how they would have felt and so on. But there's lots of room for manoeuvre, and it's, for example, you can, I don't think I can do it because I've set it up, but as you're setting it up, you can click on and you can add things that it'll take you to places and so on. But for me as a teacher, it's really a quick way of getting them together. So that was forms, but there's another thing that I've been using that I've also found quite handy, so I'll just do that quickly. and it's this app here called Classroom Screen, which isn't, it's free for the basic version, and again, you can spend, I think it's £29 a year if you want to upgrade it, and the only difference with upgrade is that you can save it. There's a little file here for saving it. I've not gone and paid that yet, but I think I might because I'm using it a lot. But it's really good. You can change the background, and down at the bottom here you've got like all the little widgets you can do. You can put, I like it because I can put a timer on. If I can get it on. Not going to work, is it? Can I put my timer on? That's not working. There's the timer. You can also put lots of different media in. So, for example, you can put a YouTube clip, but for me it's quite good because I can put in, for example, if I was going to do a question, so for example, that, I'll just use that there, it puts my question in, I can extend it, I'll move it over here to make it bigger. And I find it easier to use as a whiteboard than the whiteboard that comes with Teams, which I find can be quite glitchy and hard to use. So if I put that question up, and I find this really good for senior pupils when you're modelling answers, I'd find my draw, I'll put that there, and then I can work through that question with them. I think it'd also be quite good for you scientists because you can put gridded paper on as well. There's time, there's clocks you can put on as well, and all sorts of things. But I've found that really good, and because I'm not paying for it just now, all I do is screenshot what I've used with the class, and then we put that into the chat so they can refer to it later. But I like it because it's got a random name generator. You can throw dice, you can draw, you can put in text, you can use traffic lights, you can use stopwatches, and so on. How much time have I got left? Because I was going to maybe show.
You've got about a minute left, Louise.
Right, okay, I'll see if I can have a time. I was just, I'm all new to notes, so one of the things that's really difficult for me anyway as a history teacher is the amount of marking, and I'm sure that's the same in you. So what I've been finding, so I'm just going to show you a kind of example here. One of the things that I've been finding is if I take a copy, so a lot of the kids, senior kids, like to write because they're used to writing and they want to be writing an exam. So I've not got a written copy here, but just to give you an example, there's one there. Yeah, there's one there. And you can put in nice wee stickers as well. But this is Beth's essay. So all I did was screenshot that and then insert it at the top of the notebook. You can see insert and then just insert the picture, and then that allows me to draw on it. And you can also put in a little audio clip, and that's recording me now. Not recording before Beth gets any more of that, and then you can put in little stickers. But that for seniors has been brilliant. It's so time saving, and they really appreciate the verbal feedback. So that's just the kind of things. That's things I've been using and have worked well. That's me done.
Great, perfect. That was great. Thanks, Louise. I think one thing you said at the beginning, like you're a history teacher, and therefore in the past you might not have used or been in a room that's had loads of computers, loads of apps before, but actually it's the things that make it really easy and accessible to use. There's a couple of questions in the chat for you. Okay. So the first one is, firstly, how do you get to Glow forms again from your Glow email?
Okay, so you just go in. Will I show you quickly? It's probably easier to show. If you go into your Glow, it's the little section, the little square.
Kind of like the waffle-looking thing.
Yeah, so it's 3 by 3 dots, and it's got all the apps associated with there, and it's in forms there. And you can also do it from your assignments on Teams, but I find it easier to do it from there. It's just easier. And then you can upload it into assignments as well.
Perfect. And lastly, the second app that you showed, which was
it's brilliant. I love it. Classroom Screen. I don't know if you can see it on. It's just all one word, Classroom Screen. And the kids don't need to log into that or anything. I just share the screen with them.
Perfect, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Hope that was helpful.
No, it was very helpful, thanks. So we've only got a couple of presentations left. The next one's actually by, or the next two are going to be by London. I keep seeing myself on the screen here. It's Alex McLaughlin. So Alex can tell you a wee bit about a resource that's available to Glasgow schools. So Alex, over to you.
You see my screen okay?
Yeah, can see it fine.
Oops. So yeah, sorry. Hi, my name's Alex McLaughlin, and I'm the STEM Development Officer. And I just want to highlight a resource that you can use for your remote learning, or even when you go back to the classroom. And it's from early through to third level. So it's a TIG Tag Twig TigTag Junior that you should be able to find in your Glow Launchpad. I'm just going to fire through what each of them, what you can do for early, primary and secondary, and different ways in which you can access it, but also ways in which you can maybe share it with your pupils if you maybe don't have them in front of you at the time. So this is TigTag Junior. That's for, it says on the thing it's for 4 to 6, so it's really for looking at early level, and it's really basic science videos covering these organisers. I've called them slightly different to the Curriculum for Excellence organisers, but I'll show you how we've mapped that in a wee minute. But they're really simple. When you click into them, they ask questions. I think one of them is about body parts. It's like name all your body parts. And it's really basic, but it all comes with videos attached to it as well. Then we've got TigTag, which is primary, so it's ages 7 to 11, so it's first and second level. But also within TigTag, there is geography and social studies as well at second level. So there's a wee bit in there as well that, for other curricular areas. I would say, preferably this is my favourite due to the fact it's split by level and organiser. So you can see here on the screen, it's much more Curriculum for Excellence friendly. It's got the actual codes, it's got the organisers as well beside it, and it's much easier to navigate than maybe the TigTag Junior and the Twig sites. They're bundled together as well, so you've got main units, and we've chosen biological systems here in the body, and on the E's and O's it says you have to go through 5. There's a choice of 5, you must do 2. It's got all of them there, and it's got extensions, things about teeth, and then you can click into these as well, and these will give you further information and further videos relating to that as well. So it's much better organised. Then we've got Twig, which is for 3rd and 4th level and National 5. This is also been a bit more, it's split into discrete subjects, so we've got biology, chemistry, physics, and they've also got earth science in there. It also includes social studies and maths. And I would say if you've got a second level pupils that are maybe pushing, or you've want an extension task, or you're just wanting something to stimulate them in terms of a video, definitely check the Twig site out. You get access to all of them through your Glow platform, and I'll show you how to add it on in a wee second. Every school in Glasgow has opted in, or shall I say has not opted out to for the registration for it, so you should all have access to it. Any issues with it, please just let us know. Within Twig, there's a science glossary, which I sometimes think is just as useful for the teacher as it is for the pupils. And within that, it's got all the words that come up through the E's and O's and the key learning and teaching points, but they're also linked directly to video clips that you could maybe post to your pupils to give a bit more explanation of what something means, or watch this first, what do you think it means? And as you can see here, it's all listed underneath the films and the learning materials as well. When it means learning materials, there's also lessons, experiments, there's lots of other activities, there's quizzes, there's odd one outs, there's puzzles, there's lots of different things for different, and it's level appropriate. And at the moment, Twig Education are redoing all the videos to make them a bit more modern. Some are a wee bit older, but they're still relevant. They're just trying to update them a wee bit, so you'll see new videos coming online as well. Alongside that, there's also the Reach Out Reporter, and if there's anything that you take away from maybe using this resource, this is probably the easiest thing to use. So there's a bit of professional development there if you want to tap into that for yourself, if you're not too sure about teaching a certain concept. And you can go on and you work through the courses. They take about 20 minutes, and they're going over the key learning teaching points. I would say this is particularly for early years and primary practitioners who maybe don't have the subject knowledge, and it's quite good to give you the key information before you teach the lesson, but it means you can also add it to your CPD manager afterwards. And I would say all you have to do is copy and paste it into CPD manager, and then you've got a record of you doing that. And linked to that is the Reach Out Reporter, which I would definitely say your pupils would, you can send these news updates to them. It's got features, videos, fact packs, and this is updated every week, and this is on topical news stories that are relevant to that week. So this is obviously, I've lifted this maybe last month, and it was about, I think it was cave art that was discovered that week, so that was the 21st. So it's all relevant, it's all a relevant news story, and there's also stuff to go along with it, including questions. There's answers to the questions as well, which some of them are a bit trickier, so there's answers to the teachers, there's scripts to make it more accessible if somebody's maybe got a hearing impairment or can't hear on their device. There's and it's all, there's questions, videos and other links as well in there to the different things. So there's loads of information. This copies the top covers the topical science, really, really easily, but also you've got your talking and listening there for your literacy as well. So definitely, if there's one that I would use the Reach Out Reporter, because it's great. And then lastly, where to find it. I'm going to skip past that. On this, we've got a sciences framework which is available on Glow, and we have linked all the videos to the E's and O's, because we felt that the mapping for Twig and for Tig Tag Junior was a bit of a minefield to try and find what the E's and O's were. So if you go onto Glow and you look for the STEM Glasgow tile and you open the sciences framework, it's all in there. But another way you can find it is, if you want to access the resource, you just go to your app library, you type in Tig Tag or you type in Twig, all comes up, and you just add it to your Launchpad. So there's 3 different ones for each for the different levels, and then there's one for its Reach Out Reporter. But if you add that on, you should just be able to access it straight through your Glow. And finally, in order to share these videos with your pupils, there is a URL builder which I'll put in the chat. And please don't share this wide. It's for Glasgow because we've paid for it. So what you do is, there's a spreadsheet. It's very antiquated the way you do it. There's at the bottom there's tabs, and all you do is you copy the link of what page you want your pupils to go to, and it'll give you a URL that works without them having to log into anything. And then you can upload this to Teams, Seesaw, Showbie, or whatever device, whatever app that you're using. So there's lots of video content that you can share across different platforms, including the Reach Out Reporter stuff. And I think that is me. And I was on time.
You were actually a wee bit over. Well, yeah, but only by about like a minute there, so that's absolutely fine. But yeah, to anybody that has not used or accessed Twig or Tig Tag or Tig Tag Junior, really recommend it. As Alex said, no one has opted out in Glasgow, so it's a resource that's there, and all the videos are approved for school use and so on. So add it to your Launchpad and get started using it. So last presentation of the night is for myself, and it's a very quick 2-minute-er, might be even slightly less than that, light-hearted one about using emojis for assessment. So I'm just going to share this just now. And we just thought we'd bring this up because now I'm trying to find it. Here we go. Can you see my screen, Alex?
Yep.
Great. We've seen quite a few people use this online, and we just thought it would be a kind of like a very quick thing to show people. Some of you might be very lucky where you might be hosting or doing a live lesson online, and all the pupils actually want to get involved, and they share dialogue and they get involved in conversation or give you some feedback. But I know there are some teachers out there from who've spoken, and they've said they'll maybe ask a question, it just kind of goes out there into kind of the dark screen, they can't see anybody's face, no one wants to join in. So a kind of form of assessment that some teachers have been using, which has seemed to have worked really well, is kind of using the emojis. So by putting something in the chat, and then for anyone that doesn't know, in Teams chat, you can hover over a comment, and then you can either like it with a thumbs up, or you can give it a love heart or a wee sad face and so on. And quite a few people have been using this as an assessment strategy. So as you can see here, we've given one example. They can use the wee heart to say, like, I can do this, thumbs up to say I'm getting there with it, or the wee sad face to say help is needed. So we're going to just put one question in just so that everyone can have a go of doing this in case you've not tried it before. And the question we're going to put in the chat, Alex, I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat because I can't get to the chat in presenter mode, if that's okay.
Yep, that's fine.
So back to school on Monday. How are we feeling about back to school on Monday? So when Alex puts that in the chat, you can hover over it, and either you can give it the wee heart, say yep, the thumbs up to say I'm getting there.
I think there might be some laughing faces coming on that you've maybe not stipulated as well.
I've only given these 3 because this is the kind of assessment criteria, but I suppose there'll be some other emojis you can obviously attribute different things to. But and that's a really simple way. Some teachers have been using it, for example, if they're kind of going over past papers for, S4, S5, S6, and they've been putting the answer to one of the past paper questions in the chat, and then pupils have kind of, based on whether, let's just say it was a 6-mark question, did they get 4 marks or above, did they get 2 marks, between 2 and 4 marks, did they only get maybe 1 or 2 marks on it, and so on, to kind of to give the teacher a snapshot of, as a class, how did everyone do on that question or so on. So you can use it in a whole bunch of different ways, but it's a really good way to also try and get people engaged. Pupils don't want to speak. You might have 20 people in the class, and you can easily, by hovering over it, say I've got 10 hearts, 8 thumbs up and 2 sad faces, so everybody's at least engaged a wee bit. But essentially, that's it. What's the feedback like on the question, Alex? Do we have any?
Yep, you've got some people have gone off plan, but you've definitely got thumbs up. We've got 13. We've got some sad faces. We've got some laughing. We've got, I think that's a surprised reaction, and then some love hearts as well. So yeah, and the good thing is I can also see everybody that said those things as well. So
yeah, so kind of we can see the names of people that have done each of them. So it's a really good way just to kind of like get a wee bit of engagement if you're struggling with that, and also kind of snapshot of an assessment. But that's essentially it. That was the last presentation of the night. I don't think I've missed anybody on the list, but I hopefully haven't.
No, I don't think you have. I think you've...
just want to say a big thank you to everyone for coming along tonight, and especially to all of our presenters for sharing things that they've been doing in the classroom. For a lot of people, this was the first time they've ever presented at TeachMeet, but it is just a really kind of like positive, supportive platform, which everybody who is teaching at the moment can just say, look, I tried this out. Like, here's a wee bit of information, give that a go yourself. So any of the links for any of the resources and things, we've tried to put them in the chat, but this chat will stay here and everybody has access to this, so you can come back and have a wee look at it if you want to link to something or you want to see an app someone's used. And I've recorded the full session tonight, so we'll edit the session, we'll fire it up on YouTube, and I'll make a wee announcement in the chat, and I'll label it important when it's up there. So if there's a colleague that you think actually they'd really like to use that, you can direct them to the YouTube channel and they can watch it.
And I've got the presentations, if everyone's okay that gave me presentations, I'll make them a PDF and I'll put them into I've made a folder called TeachMeet as well, so if anyone doesn't want me to share, just let me know, but I'll put them in, I'll do that tomorrow morning.
Great. Perfect. Well, thanks again, everybody. We finished a wee bit early, so you can go and enjoy the rest of your
Pancake Day.
Yes, the rest of Pancake Day, so you can go enjoy the rest of that. We'll hang about for the next couple of minutes in case anyone's got any questions or anything, but other than that, thanks and have a good night.
See you later.